Hey everyone, at Don here again, and I'm back with another episode of the Friday edition of the Bits and Pieces, and you know what I do here, I talk horror-related movie news. So let's get right into it, but before we do, I just want to say again, I apologize for only getting this video series up once a week. For the next few weeks in September and then the beginning of October, it's quite busy for me outside of YouTube, so there's going to be a reduction in terms of stuff I'm going to present on YouTube, but on to the first article. It's coming to us from bloodydisgusting.com. Published on September 4th, 2019, written by John Squires. Now, the title of this article is Parents in Australia Complain That Giant It Chapter 2 Billboards Are Terrifying Their Kids. I have two things to mention about this. The first thing is we will be talking even more about this leading up to the release, and I've touched on it on previous videos. It Chapter 2, any news breaks, any dumps that we get, we're going to talk about it here on the Bits and Pieces. So that's the first thing. The second thing is 2 thumbs up to the It Chapter 2 promotion company, the people looking after the marketing. They're obviously doing their part, and that's awesome. I love this article. I had to lead off with this. Anyways, let's get right into it. There's a shot of the billboard of Pennywise with some blood dripping out of the side of his mouth. It Chapter 2 in cinemas September 5th. Anyways, let's get into the article. Andy Muschietti's It Chapter 2 is being released in both the United States and Australia tomorrow night, September 5th, and the marketing campaign over in Australia has been making headlines and various complaints from parents. As reported by 9 News, parents say that giant billboards of Pennywise's face have been giving their young children nightmares. It just totally freaks them out, Brisbane mother Kelly told the Australian news outlet, speaking about her kids' reaction to the billboards. Her daughter Piper chimed in, "I get really scared because it's hard to go to bed when you have a scary picture in your mind. Before I go to bed, I have to check the whole room, and when I finally go to bed, I will wake up after a nightmare." Right there. I hate to laugh about this stuff, but that's a horror movie. That's what a horror movie is supposed to do. It's supposed to instill fear. I don't know about children, but the parents, and when I was a kid, I remember the first horror experience I had was with Friday the 13th Part 3 and Jaws. Just the regular Jaws. It was one of the first times we had rented a VCR. Like when we moved up in the world, we had rented a VCR, and I saw Jaws. I wasn't allowed to stay up to watch Friday the 13th. Went to bed and checked under my bed a million times that night, and I did for years after the fact. But now that I'm older, I love Jaws. I love horror movies. So maybe this early exposure to horror will lead to a future horror fit. Anyways, that's a bit of a side. On with the article to continue it off. Another mother also told 9 News that her child is terrified by the imagery. Some people do enjoy going to horror movies, and that's fine, and that's their choice. 2 thumbs up to her comment there. And I understand that, but we're not choosing to see this poster, said Jane, who issued the complaint with ad standards. The complaint stemmed from the billboards being placed in areas frequented by children. It's a little vague there in the article. I guess that's coming from the complaints. But the Ad Standards Board says they don't break any of the rules they're tasked with enforcing. You've still got it, Pennywise. Job well done. I second that. Thoughts in that sentiment. That a horror movie poster is definitely doing their job if the public is complaining or there's some type of outcry over it. Anyways, that's it for this article. Let's get on to the next one. And for our next article, we're going to go to Dark Universe Horror Database. This article was published on September 1st, 2019, so it's a couple days old. I did hear about this a couple days ago, and I wanted to talk about it. Had to wait till the Friday edition to get it out. Written by Nick Bond. Title of this article is Kyle Richards will reprise her role as Lindsay Wallace in Halloween Kills. Now this is important because in the last episode we covered how Anthony Michael Hall is going to play Tommy Doyle, but Kyle Richards is actually coming back. The original actress who played Lindsay Wallace is coming back to be in Halloween Kills, and that's awesome. I think that's really awesome that they're bringing a legacy character back again in Lindsay Wallace, and it's the actual actress reprising the role some 40 years later. All right, on with the article. After much speculation, Halloween movies confirmed this past Friday. That's the wrong past, Dark Universe. Just calling you out on your grammar there. Past Friday that actress Kyle Richards will return to face Michael Myers in Halloween Kills. Richard first appeared as Lindsay Wallace in John Carpenter's 1978 horror masterpiece Halloween. David Gordon Green is attached to direct both sequels, with John Carpenter confirmed to provide the new scores, The third film will wrap up the Laurie Strode and Michael Myers saga. Jamie Lee Curtis has signed on to star as Laurie Strode. Anthony Michael Hall will play Tommy Doyle. Jibral Nantambu will return as Julian. Nick Castle and James Jude Courtney are returning to play the roles of Michael Myers. But like I said on previous episodes, I'm going to continue to do this. We have a year now. We're leading up to that movie, just over a year. Any type of news, any little tidbit like this, I'm going to cover it. And I am in favor of this. Bring back more legacy characters. Like, I know some other characters have come out and said that, but as we talked about in previous episodes, everything but the original Halloween and Halloween 2018 are no longer considered canon. So they are pure legacy. They are not coming back, unfortunately. As much as I would like to see all the characters, like several characters, come back, I'm hoping someone actually comes back as a relative as Loomis. To go off on a side rant, I know we had that doctor in Halloween 2018 that was supposed to be like the Dr. Loomis character, and then it took us on that sharp left turn that I saw like a million miles coming away, that he was going to be crazy. And actually, one of the reasons why Michael's back on a terrifying kill streak. I'm hoping that we get another doctor in this episode, maybe someone related to Dr. Loomis's character that we can look to as that character that's always like, evil's coming, he's here, I shot him 6 times, Sheriff, 6 times. Halloween isn't the same without that type of character. You need that type of character that's always ringing the bell saying, danger's coming, danger. It's like another great example that I like from TV from the late 90s and the early 2000s was from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Anthony Stewart Head's version of Giles the librarian. He was another great version of that archetype character where, oh no, everything, we need to be ready because danger's coming. And another really good example from literature, and we got the movies in the early aughts, is Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. Like, that's all his character is. He just shows up in times of need or times of strife, and he's always there at the nick of time, and he always knows the exact right thing to do, but he's always ringing that bell. We have danger coming. We have danger coming. We must get to Gondor. Anyways, I'm going on a Lord of the Rings rant, but you know what I mean. Hopefully we continue to see more characters announced for these 2 movies in terms of legacy characters or attachments to those legacy characters new, like maybe a cousin or a niece or a nephew. That'd be good. A Dr. Loomis niece or a nephew, maybe both, the duo. Maybe there'd be a Scooby Gang named after Dr. Loomis. Anyways, I'm getting way off base. That's it for this article. Kyle Richards will reprise her role as Lindsay Wallace in Halloween Kills. That's it for this article. Let's get on to the next one. And for the last part of this week's show, we are again going to try to do another horror movie review of something I've recently watched. I ended up selecting Abandoned Mine. That's the name of the movie that I saw on Amazon. We're already in a bit of choppy waters in terms of this movie's quality, but let's get into it. IMDb gives it a 3.8. I was initially going to say that that's being a little harsh on it. I had the chance to go back and rewatch it again just to pick up on some bits I might have missed and just to get the whole, because I wasn't really paying attention the first time. Like, we've got the synopsis here. 5 school friends seek adventure on Halloween night in an abandoned haunted mine, only to find to their horror that ghostly rumors may be true as they fight for survival. That's kind of what's going on. That's the general synopsis, but there's a lot more going on in this movie that they try to throw in so many other horror movies ideas. I'm thinking the 3.8 might be a little generous at this point. This is a bad movie. This is one I would recommend to avoid unless, similar to Camp Wedding like I talked about last week, unless you have a lot of free time on your hands, then you might want to check this out. Because the movie starts out that it shows these 2 guys that I think they're high school. I think they're supposed to be in high school, and 2 girls that are supposed to be in high school. None of these people in this movie look like they belong in high school. They all look like they're beyond college. I don't know. The main character, Brad, wants to have one good last Halloween. It's Halloween weekend, and they want to have one last good Halloween rah 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 before everybody splits up. I don't know where to start with this movie. Full spoilers. off the top. They're trying to also tack on like a Blair Witch found footage idea to the movie, like a concept to this movie. Like Brad gets all these helmets with GoPros, and he's given them all the GoPro helmets for this trip to the abandoned mine, where they summarily freak out after they find out that they're going to the Jarvis mine, because this Jarvis mine is completely haunted because it was owned by some miner who staked his claim there, but then they found more gold than they were supposed to. So the bosses came back and wanted a bigger cut of the share, what they had agreed to. So they summarily killed off him and his family in gruesome manner. We get full description. I'm not going to go into that much here, but so then they're going to this mine. They're all freaked out. They're going to do this GoPro tack, but I got to talk about that for a minute. What's up with movies in the like Blair Witch started this found footage thing. There was a little bit before of it, but Blair Witch really brought it to the forefront. Why is it every movie since then, and that was like 20 years ago, we talked about that in a previous episode of the Bits and Pieces, Blair Witch celebrating a 20th anniversary. Why is it every found footage movie since then has gotten worse and worse and worse, and this one is no different? It's so bad. Like, we see clips while we're being introduced to the characters. We see clips of them disappearing. Like clips of the found footage of them in awkward situations, either disappearing off screen and like, sort of thing. It's like, way to build up intrigue and suspense. Jeff Chamberlain, Mr. Director, way to build up intrigue and suspense in your horror movie when you're already showing us how these characters may or may not be dying. But as it turns out, they don't die because it's a whole troll by Brad. Brad has them all in on it except for Laurie. They want to give one last good Halloween scare. Sarah gets on board. Timmy or Jimmy or whatever his name is on board, his football pal. Laurie, from this all happening to her, because we're also introduced to her early in the movie. She's sitting at her brother's war memorial. They never really go into full detail about it, but I'm assuming that she lost a brother in the war and she's a little emotionally scarred or emotionally unstable due to this and dealing with that, still recovering from that loss in her life. All these practical jokes set her off, and she climbs into this towering stature where she starts using her pre-med training before she goes off to med school about, this cave, we came in and it was the mouth, and then we went through the lungs and the stomach, and down there, she's pointing down, this is getting towards the last half of the movie, the last quarter of the movie. They have to go down to where the living quarters, where the Jarvis family lived. She points down this long shaft. She's like, now we're in the bowels and we have to go down further. I'm just like, okay. She's gone crazy. She's gone totally postal. She believes she's the reincarnation of Jarvis's wife. So she's sitting in the room, dressed in something she would wear. It's a Native American angle. The Jarvis family wife was a Native American in the area. She finds the headdress, puts on the little flower, like a little feather head bandana, and is waiting with this post because she's waiting for the Jarvis ghost to arrive. But of course, he doesn't arrive. We see all the background of it being a troll by Brad and everyone eventually being in on it. He goes into the room, she whacks him, kills him. He's dead. She's killed Brad. And at the end of the movie, we get to see her piecing together all the found footage of not only the trolls, about everything that happened to her and her sitting in the room. I don't know how that happened because she wasn't wearing the GoPro at the time, but we had footage of her sitting in the room dressed up as the wife of Jarvis. The camera was up. Maybe she had the camera put on the shelf in front of her, camera pointed towards her. We get to see her piecing it all together. Of course, she's not gone on to med school. She's in some type of sanitarium, that sort of thing. She's not going anywhere. And then we get a glimpse of the Jarvis family floating outside her window. So perhaps it was real. So that's about all I gotta say about this movie. The mine, abandoned mine, it doesn't matter. Save your time. Don't watch this movie. Like, there are other things I could talk about when it comes to this movie, but it'd be a waste of time. It's just best right now to wrap up the episode. And I've got some dollar store horror DVDs, people, and that's what I'm going to be reviewing on future episodes. So look for those in future episodes of the Bits and Pieces, and maybe just some general reviews drop through the week as we get closer to Halloween, because I do love my dollar store DVDs. Dollarama for the win. Anyways, That's it for this week's video, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, you know what to do. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I'll be back next week with more bits and pieces, and I'll talk to you on Friday as well with Crystal Lake Fridays. Anyways, that's it for this week's video, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, you know what to do. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I'll be back next week with more bits and pieces, and I'll talk to you soon.